This is fun. I get to talk about one of my favorite drinks in color form. This is Iced Mocha by Sherwin Williams, requested by one of my subscribers to basically talk about, review, and also build a color palette based around it. That's what Color Quickie is all about, so let's get right into this wonderful color. Now, upon first glance, you might think this color is just kind of brown, which is sort of right, but in actuality, it's part of the Sherwin Williams orange color family. But really, orange, when it's darkened and shaded, it can look pretty brown, kind of like this color. What you're getting with Iced Mocha is a darker brown that is rich enough to feel like a creamy hot chocolate, or I guess a mocha in this case. I think the fact that it's called Iced Mocha is a pretty accurate depiction of what it looks like in person. Dark chocolatey brown blended up with some bright ice sort of gives you a darker mid-tone color. And we know this precisely by looking at its LRV, its light reflectance value. From 0 to 100, this color scores a 25, which means it only reflects 25%, basically a quarter of the light that hits it. This means it's going to feel more substantial as a color. It's going to feel a little more strong and perhaps masculine. Not that I want to gender a color or anything, but not that it feels manly. It has a sense of strength to it. It's not a color that's going to fade in the background because there's quite a bit of colorant within it. And while some browns can lean a little more heavily into red or even purple territory, this one does a great job at staying fairly neutral, but being a little bit warmer leaning, kind of going towards orange, a touch of a golden tan color in the undertones, which I think makes it a great tertiary color, secondary color. I'd be hesitant to paint my entire home with it unless it was on the outside, because I do think that Iced Mocha is an excellent exterior color, whether you're looking for a kind of mid-tone darker brown trim color to sort of outline everything, or as a main body color where it'll appear a bit lighter when used outside because the sun is a massive light source after all. So it's going to be much brighter. It'll feel a little closer to a true mid-tone on siding or stucco or even painted brick. Great choice for that. On the inside, I do find it to be a great color as an accent wall choice if you want something that is dark but not overly contrasty. And if you're wondering about what colors to use it with, got that coming up right now. So the first one is Eater White, and yes, it's an off-white. It's actually a former color of the month. I find it to be such a timeless, flexible, easy to use color. It is not necessarily in the same family of kind of warmer brown leaning neutrals like Iced Mocha, but that's why I enjoy it. It's a little bit complementary. As a white, or an off-white in this case, it has a crispness to it. It feels a little bit grayed out. Sherwin Williams describes it as a relaxing tone, a cool white. Although I don't feel it's overly cold and icy and blue, it's cool in the respect that it just feels contemporary, sleek. And I think brown and tan colors like Iced Mocha or any natural woods really pop off of Eater White beautifully. Excellent choice if you are into the whole Scandi aesthetic. Maybe you dabble in wabi-sabi a bit, stuff like that. I think it would work really well as a base because it's not way too bright where it's just going to blind you based on all the light that's being reflected off of it. Its LRV is only 73. Still pretty light considering, but it has enough colorant in it to substantiate it, which I think is pretty important, unless you want stark white walls then. Just get the pre-mixed stuff. Next up, we have a blue color called Breezy. One of my favorite mid-tone sort of slate blues that Sherwin Williams makes. This color feels kind of timeless to me. It has that dusty quality that I really look for when it comes to incorporating color next to other neutrals, because it gives you a nice entry point to color. So a lot of us, we are a bit scared to really go for it, but a color like Breezy is just toned down slightly with gray. It gives you the best of both worlds. It's not overly vibrant and electrifying and pop arty, but it also has this beautiful sort of sky blue quality to it that can really enhance a space when used strategically. You could deem this as a subtle accent color, so it's going to differentiate itself very much so from Eater White and Iced Mocha. Still seems to fit somehow, because even in this picture here, you see it being used with whites, creams, and a dark wood, so kind of within that same wheelhouse. Breezy, like a lot of mid-tone blue colors, to me they feel very relaxing, very peaceful. Just a nice color to use in maybe a room that you're ending your day in, where you want to just relax and just sort of feel like you're floating in the sky and just chilling. So of course, bedrooms are great for that. Even a family room is a good choice for that. But for me, I would pick and choose where you use it. Eater White is probably the color that you would use most in this palette. This is maybe your second most used color, if not tied with Iced Mocha. I feel like those are the semi-accent colors here. That's because the real accent here is Cordovan, which is a really rich red wine, burgundy, slightly purple leaning color. We're talking Merlot, like dark red here. And I sometimes like to pair red with blue just because they're not completely on the opposite ends of the spectrum, but pretty close. They're split complementary, you could say. But Cordovan's interesting because it's blackened, like it seems shaded for a red, and it is part of the red family, but there's enough of purple in there to just soften its warmth ever so slightly, which is a good thing. We do have Breezy as a cool color, so there should maybe be some connection there. But ultimately, I'm looking at Iced Mocha and Cordovan as just two rich colors that maybe share some brown, some warmth, but in very different ways. I would love Cordovan in a dining room. I think it's such an elegant color. And I could also see it working in an office as well, because those darker colors tend to be conducive to like focus for me. My office is pretty dark too, because sometimes I feel like looking at bright walls all day can be a bit straining. But yeah, not normally the color I would go for my accent, but I think in this palette I really do enjoy it. In terms of trim colors, if you're looking to paint your baseboards, doors, and frames, one of the quintessential off-whites by Sherwin Williams is Alabaster, and I think in this palette it works great on the baseboards. I think it's just a nice balance of a little bit warm but not too yellowy, creamy. It has some softness to it. It's not too stark, but also clearly feels like a white paint, especially when used on your woodwork. So that would be my choice for most people, I would say. Lightweight beige is my slightly darker trim color option. Essentially, it shares the same sort of undertones as Iced Mocha, but in actuality, it can sometimes feel a little bit more rosy, ever so slightly. Not as much of a kind of golden ochre undertone, but I think because of that quality, it coexists with Eder white a little bit better. But ultimately, lightweight beige, I feel, is a pretty straight down the middle brown-based beige that works nicely as a different trim color option, but also another wall color alternative if you're looking for yet another option. And here's the palette altogether. A little bit different this time. Let me know what you think. You don't have to love it, but maybe you do. Hopefully you at least like this video with a press of that thumbs up button and a subscribe if you want to keep up to date with all the stuff we're doing. You can support us even further by clicking the join button and becoming a channel member for a toonie a month, just to support what we do full time on YouTube and beyond. More colorful content right over here. You don't got to go anywhere else. Just click on this box.